Hey everyone, Lance Brown here with Performance Diesel, PDI. Here we are with the Volvo D13 PDI Big Boss exhaust manifold installation. We start with draining the coolant into a transfer basin. To gain access to the manifold for removal, we remove the bumper corner, inner fender, and hood support bracket. Set these aside for reinstallation later. Next, we remove the air filter housing and charge air cooler piping. Remove all coolant lines to the doser valve and turbo. Remove the exhaust housing adapter from the turbo exhaust housing and downpipe. This is where the doser is mounted. Remove oil feed and return lines from the turbo. Remove bolts from the exhaust manifold and remove the manifold. We removed with the turbo mounted to the manifold, as it is easier to remove the turbo with the whole assembly off the engine. With the manifold removed, clean or buff the mounting surface for the installation of the new Big Boss manifold. Set the new exhaust manifold gaskets in place. We like to use a gasket adhesive to do this task. Now, with the new manifold on a flat surface, install the slip joint seals. We use a 2.5-inch piece of pipe to slide the seals all the way onto the end joints first, ensuring the seal is all the way on. Then slip the joint into the center section using a rubber mallet to seat the joints. At this point, be sure to measure the spacing from the old manifold and set the new manifold to match that spacing. The centering holes of the cylinder head should do the same thing. Set the new manifold in place and install new bolts and spacers, starting with the centering holes first. There will be one in each section of the manifold, center and both ends. We also recommend using an anti-seize material on all exhaust manifold bolts. Tighten the bolts, starting with the centering holes first and working around until all bolts are tight. Torque these to factory OE specs. Reconnect the EGR valve using the new gasket. Insert the lower bolts on the manifold flange for the turbo. Using the new gasket, set the turbo on bottom side first with the slotted holes. Then install the top bolts and spacers, tightening all 4 bolts to factory OE specs. Reconnect exhaust housing adapter to the turbo exhaust housing and then to the downpipe. Reinstall turbo oil feed and return lines. Reinstall all coolant lines and the fuel line to the doser valve. Reinstall the charge air cooler piping. Reinstall air filter housing. Reinstall intake piping. Reinstall the inner fender and the hood support bracket. Reinstall the bumper corner. Refill the coolant reservoir to full, start the engine, and check for any leaks. As always, with any new product installed, we recommend a test drive and circling back to ensure that all bolts are torqued to factory OE specs. You are now ready to enjoy your Big Boss exhaust manifold, which will create more horsepower, torque, and fuel efficiency.